welcome. It's indisputable. I'm your host, Rashad Ritchie. Good to be with you. We have a lot on the agenda to discuss. Breaking down news of the day. None other than the remarkable, funny, and highly intelligent Tehran Von Ghasri. Always fascinating analysis. Okay, well, top story of the day. This is an update. Remember the activist who is appointed to oversee police reform? She recorded a cop acting out of line. Well, that appointee has now been kicked off the reform committee. I want to remind you of the initial incident, and I will give you the update. Here it is.
Officer hopped up on energy drinks out here yelling at me, saying he gonna arrest me. Don't open the door. Don't listen to them.
Now you disturb the peace. I'm about to come outside.
I'm not disturbing the peace. The noise ordinance is from 6 a.m. in the morning. It's past 6 a.m., so the noise ordinance does not count.
You call the city on the day.
It's from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m.
I'm gonna show you. You call the city, I'm gonna show you.
Okay, and I got you on camera too. I'll make sure I let everybody know.
You on camera, all right?
And that's fine. I'm so glad you didn't turn your body camera off, because y'all some liars. I wonder if he the one that's hopped up on energy drinks.
This is Memphis police officer David Rousey, who charged at me because he was so pissed off that I was getting video of his face because I wanted people to know exactly who he was. And then when he arrested me, looked at me and said, "You see my face now? You see me?" And David, I do see you. I see you for the abuser that you are. The Institute for Public Service Reporting at the University of Memphis did a great expose about David Rousey's history of abuse. According to the Institute of Public Service Reporting, this report is a summary of facts and allegations collected by internal investigators of the Memphis Police Department. Specifically, it states, afterwards, officers picked him up by the handcuffs and slammed him to the ground. During this time, an officer kept saying, "Take the handcuffs off so we can kill him." Mr. Jefferson balled up on the floor and Officer Rousey stated, "It's time to get some WCW, World Championship Wrestling, going on." Officer Rousey hit him with a chair and kicked him in the buttocks and groin 3 or 4 times. The officers denied Jefferson's allegations because there was no video.
Put up the picture full mass. I'm going to give you an update, and we will discuss. After going public with allegations of police misconduct, Memphis policy organizer Amber Sherman was kicked off a police reform task force in a move she called, quote, a cop-out. On the morning of April 10th, Amber walked down Mount Vernon Road, came upon a search warrant in progress. She noticed an energy drink placed on top of a police car and began filming from the public sidewalk. Angry words were exchanged with a police officer, and chaos ensued. During her arrest, Sherman claimed an officer threatened her with mace, twisted her arm behind her back, and failed to read her Miranda rights. Atlanta Black Star previously reported this. So while in custody, she noticed an officer had removed his body camera, and it sent chills down her spine. After 17 hours, she was released on her own recognizance, simply means signature, but she would soon experience another blow. Sherman was swiftly terminated and relieved of her duties in the newly formed Integrity Policing Initiative, of which she had been an integral part since its inception 2 months ago. Sherman was swiftly terminated and relieved of her duties on the newly formed Integrity Police Initiative, of which she has been there for 2 months. Now, let's talk about how ironic it is that an individual who is placed on a police oversight board, whatever oversight that may be, a person in the community, this is how it is supposed to look. Those boards don't look like government. They look like neighborhood. And she is an integral part. That simply means that she is among the leaders of that group. They respect her. The community obviously respects her. So here's what the police or the powers that be that govern them have attempted to do. They have attempted to get rid of a voice aligned with advocacy for community. Even if you disagree with the advocacy, at least you have integrity and respect from neighborhoods and communities because you allow real voices at the table. But you took off. Quote, I wasn't surprised, she said. She told Atlanta Black Star, but the reason cited that she would no longer appear objective made her bristle. She believed it was just an excuse to avoid controversy. Quote, saying it couldn't be objective, I couldn't be objective while remaining on the task force wasn't true because I've been working with the current mayor's administration for almost 2 years now on police reforms, she explained. In fact, a data transparency project she facilitated for the police department just came to fruition last week. It's a groundbreaking daily updated dashboard of traffic stops made available online. She's doing real work that has real consequence and provides actual transparency for the community to trust the police. I do find it interesting that they will cite she's not able to be objective. Now understand this. Being objective is really a exercise in degree. I would put it to the mayor this way. Mayor, do you believe that officer is objective? Or do you believe that officer has a certain amount of bias against certain individuals who provide a recording context on a public sidewalk, not breaking the law? Is the cop going to be relieved of his duties for the subjective responses he has given in the past or even in that video? No. There's more. Quote, it includes the race, sex, reason for the stop, and that information is on an open dashboard so people can see what the stop is for and if there's noticeable patterns. That is a remarkable deterrent to discrimination and targeting. Adding, quote, traffic stops are usually how police get some interaction with citizens and then the brutality happens. And that is absolutely correct. So much so that many cities have now eliminated what's called pretextual stops because they realized that pattern was existing with their law enforcement personnel. This reformist has gone so far as to be a leader in transforming even that paradigm to something that's more progressive than the vast majority of cities in the United States of America. Sherman was dedicated to her life. She has dedicated to her life of advocating for Black community in Memphis and graduated from Hodges University, summa cum laude, with a master's in legal studies. She has been deeply involved in policy reform for 2 years, has no plans of stopping now, despite her sudden ouster. Quote, I would say I'm more beneficial and more productive not on a task force because that task force has literally done nothing. She told Atlanta Black Star, yes, she's I've been on a task force or two of my life. I know what you mean, madam. I think it's beautiful that real authentic leaders who serve from the heart, they don't need a group to validate them. I always find it telling when a politician who loses an election disappears, but only shows back up when election time hits again. She doesn't need an election. She doesn't need the committee. She was doing this before a committee was even formed. The group of community leaders led by retired federal judge Bernice Donald had been tasked with proposing policy changes after a damning U.S. Department of Justice revealed this report that revealed rampant corruption and racism in the police department in Memphis. We talked about that here. The letter sent to Sherman was penned by Donald and CC'd to Memphis Mayor Paul Young. It read in part, quote, while the work of the task force is to address misconduct through police reform, the developing and ongoing nature of your own matter creates a serious conflict of interest. The conflict makes it difficult for you to appear objective in carrying out the work of the task force. It is imperative that our work be independent of personal controversies and viewed as in the best interest of our community as a whole. Now, once again, this is coming from a retired judge. Judge, no disrespect. On the task force that's representing me in the community, I would consider you to be much more non-objective than Ms. Sherman. Because Ms. Sherman is likely to experience the kind of treatment that I would experience, and you are not. So she has a perspective through the 3 E's of life: experience, exposure, and environment. You don't share those with the common community. Now, you may say you do, but you don't. As soon as you are pulled over by a cop or you have an interaction with the cop, when they recognize you as a judge, your world changes in ways that others would not. You're friendly to them. Sherman does not plan to appeal. Quote, I feel like it was a cop-out. My talents will be more effective elsewhere. You're absolutely correct. All right, dear brother, thoughts here?
Well, there's always that question of who watches the watchers. In this case, it was Amber Sherman who watches the watchers. And guess what? The watchers fired her as soon as she started watching them. That's how that works. There's a whole group of people, a community called auditors, which sometimes are extremely aggravating and annoying to police. And yet, because they test the limits of what police and police interaction and community policing is. And yet they are extremely vital to the communities for this reason: keeping police honest. And if you're a police officer, you should be honest. That is literally your task. Your task is to protect and serve the community, not to bully, not to parent, not to overlord, but to protect and serve. It was called a reform task force. They did not want to reform. They simply wanted to preform. They wanted a performance. They wanted to give the performance that they are changing. They are not. It was called an integrity policing initiative. There was no integrity in any of it. There was only policing and no initiative. We see that too much. This is where we have these problems. Hopefully, Amber Sherman, I understand that she is not going to appeal this judgment. And I hope that's because she's going to be the one running for mayor. And then I'd like to see what they do for that.
There you go. There you go. You are the leader you've been waiting for. All right, we'll bring updates as they come. We have a major new update on the Shannon Sharpe saga. All right, disturbing audio of Shannon Sharpe exposed. We're going to get into it. Here it is.
Well, what, Gabby?
Well, you're coming to LA tomorrow?
Yes.
Well, I don't know why you want to go out.
Don't worry about it, Gabby.
Well, okay.
Okay, what?
Well, I'm not really interested in getting choked, so I guess we're going.
Yeah, I might choke you in public. Big black guy chokes small white woman.
It's not a good look, Shannon.
Not a good look that you did what you did to me.
There is a second audio recording. I'm going to play that in just a moment. Some context. $10 million was actually already offered before the $50 million lawsuit came. We're going to get into that as well. There's new information we did not know prior. Here's the second audio.
Anything I say, you're just gonna like get mad at, and you're just gonna hang up on me. So I feel like
I'm not gonna hang up on you. Here's what it is.
What does that even mean?
Nothing, Gabby. You want to be to me now, so.
I don't want to be. Don't manipulate me.
Oh, no, have mercy. If you say that one more time, I'm gonna choke the out of you when I see you. Thank you.
Well, I don't want to be choked.
Yes, you do. I don't think you have a choice in the matter.
Put it up for mass. Earlier this week, we reported on Shannon Sharpe facing a massive civil lawsuit while negotiating a $100 million podcasting deal, including explicit text, recordings are revealed now. I'm sure more is to come. A reminder, the legal action was filed by, on the record, Jane Doe, represented by the same lawyer who unsuccessfully pursued Jay-Z in a similar case brought last year. Accuses Sharpe of assault, sexual assault, battery, sexual battery, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. The lawsuit filed on April 20th by the unidentified woman alleges that Sharpe sexually assaulted her multiple times in late 2024 and early 2025. And I want to remind everyone that while this is a civil case, this could and is likely under investigation criminally. There is no suspended statute of limitation here. They are well within the statute of limitation to investigate as a criminal matter. So some have been asking about that, and yeah, he's not out of the statute of limitation for charges, potentially. According to the complaint, the New York Post reports the woman claims she and Sharpe were in a, quote, rocky consensual relationship for nearly 2 years before the alleged incidents occurred. According to new reports, Sharpe's attorney, Lanny Davis, revealed that the NFL veteran previously offered $10 million to the alleged victim to avoid the case becoming public. In a press conference, Davis provided additional context surrounding the $50 million suit filed by his ex-girlfriend. So the multi-million-dollar offer was made during mediation conversations this past month. But she walked away from the offer. Quote, "It was a big shock to us when suddenly this case was filed without any advance warning," Davis said. Recently, the accuser released a recorded conversation in which Sharpe can be heard saying, quote, "I'm going to effing choke it out of you," end quote. She began the consensual relationship with Sharpe, later alleging citing controlling and physical abuse. Another quote, "He demanded complete control over her time and body," Busby issued in a statement, expecting her to be at his house on his schedule, at his command whenever he called. According to the suit, late 2024, she attempted to end the relationship with the nightcap host, which allegedly led to Sharpe sexually violating her. That is in the claim. She claims the abuse occurred again in January of 2025. There are people responding on TikTok and other social media apps. So for some context, here's some of those responses.
And y'all wonder why Tracy Ellis Ross is happily single. And as far as we know, Regina King is single and Regina Hall is single and Nia Long is now single. Because the men in their proximity, their direct proximity, not only their proximity, their age mates, out here doing like Shannon Sharpe.
Shannon Sharpe is a prime example of all of these men talking about women ain't they just gonna be alone. But behind the scenes, you texted a 19-year-old teenager about big black baby gravy.
Start dating in your age bracket and maybe you won't have these problems. I said what I said.
I would like to know less about you. I would like to know less. Do.
I remember when actress, comedian Monique, we've had her on the program a couple of times, when she went on Club Shay Shay, she said something in a way that was from the heart, is her way, but she gave him a warning. And this sister talks like this to individuals that she actually has care and respect for. And obviously she was offering this as advice, but Twitter's reminding everyone of it. Here it is.
Come on,
They talk to us. How this dating thing? Because it's Mo is different now than when you and I.
It's different, baby. I'm grateful I'm not 56 and trying.
But you tried to say that. What you tried to say? Mo,
I'm looking right at you.
I know you looking at me.
I ain't backing down. You better take your old ass and get somebody to love you.
Damn, Mo.
Now I'm looking right at y'all. Let me tell y'all what Shannon needs.
Let me
tell you what my baby needs. He need him an old fat gal who can bake good cakes, make some smothered turkey wings, who gonna rub his feet at the nighttime, okay, and gonna have a sip of his cognac to make him feel better about himself when he come home at night. That's what Shannon needs. You don't need no 26-year-old girl. You don't need no 36-year-old girl. This is your auntie talking to you. Take your old ass and get you an old bitch out there that can love you old.
Obviously laced with the comedic characteristic of Monique. Stephen A. Smith, colleague, friend. I actually watched his podcast when he went live to discuss this. Obviously, a significant situation and probably an uncomfortable one. Stephen A. Smith reveals what ESPN heads think about explosive Shannon Sharpe allegations. Quote, to be clear, even though this podcast is owned and operated by me solely, it does not mean that I'm going to be dismissive of ESPN, who employs me in my daytime job on First Takes. So I sit here before you today, letting you know that they are aware, Smith said. He continued, quote, I can tell you I also spoke to co-chairman of Disney, the boss, who made it very clear that we are taking this matter very seriously and we are looking into this very, very closely. Once we gather as many facts as we possibly can, we will go from there. All right. Shannon Sharpe was nearing a $10 million settlement with the accuser before the bombshell lawsuit. Shannon Sharpe was in the midst of a mediation with the woman who accused him of sexual assault when she filed the civil lawsuit. Quote, without warning, according to his attorney, Lanny J. Davis. Now, there is no requirement for warning. I just want everyone to know that. In a virtual press conference, virtual press conference to address the matter Tuesday, the attorney Davis said his client was, quote, was willing to pay the client, quote, at least. That's an interesting context, right? At least $10 million in a settlement. Another quote from the attorney. It was a big surprise to us a few days ago when this case was filed, Davis said. Davis played a recording of Sharpe's statement he released on Instagram Tuesday, calling it a shakedown by his accuser and denied the allegations against his client. Two things that are worthy of mention. Stephen A. Smith did say in the beginning of his show that Shannon Sharpe is not only a colleague, but a friend before he got into that context. Another dynamic, when Shannon Sharpe gave his direct video through social media, he had a lot of details about what they probably were going to release. And he gave some of that information. Now we know how he knew because they were in the middle of settlement negotiations prior to the lawsuit being filed. All right, a lot of twists and turns. I actually do not believe what we have on public record is the full extent of what they have on Shannon Sharpe. Shannon Sharpe has said these are edited videos. Basically, he's saying they are taken out of context. And then he provided text messages showing that there's a level, at least, of sexual dynamics connected to some of this language. It doesn't mean that is it all the way through and every time it is said, but he provided that text context. Now, none of us were there. And no matter what happens, none of us will ever have been there. And it seems as if this is going to some dynamic of evidentiary equality because a court at some point is going to demand that this evidence be produced unless a settlement is reached prior, which it seems as if that's not happening now. All right, dear brother, a lot of elements here. Thoughts?
Are you sure you don't want to talk about something like Israel and Palestine, something a lot less controversial? Because I don't know if I feel extremely comfortable talking about this particular topic simply because of all the nuances that it brings forth. I do want to say that in the court of public opinion, everyone is always found guilty, and that content without context is not information. That being said, clearly Shannon Sharpe is in the wrong, if for nothing else, for not being careful and not heeding the words of so many Black women that have come to his aid, including my colleague and friend Monique, who spoke up and spoke out in regards to his dating life. You saw the TikToks, we all know where it's going. Now, I heard the words. I do not know if I heard the anger that's being prescribed by the victim in this situation, but I did hear the words. There are words sometimes taken out of context. If I say I kill you on the basketball court, I shouldn't be locked up for murder. If I say I'm the bomb, I shouldn't be locked up for terrorism, except under this administration, anything is possible. I do know that Shannon Sharpe said some inappropriate things that is just a part of a collection. Now, if there's a lot more, then that's what we have to go based on. I don't know the full story, but neither do you. The only two people that do is Shannon Sharpe and the victim, alleged victim in this case. And there's always two stories, two sides to every story, and then there's the truth. And the truth lies in between. I do know that this isn't the first time that white women's tears have created this animosity towards a Black male. I also know that it's not the first time that someone we consider a celebrity or famous has done something possibly wrong, and we defend them instead of the victim. So a lot is yet to be seen.
A lot is yet to be seen and guaranteed to come. All right, well, Tim Scott, the #1 Black male white supremacist. Senator Tim Scott hasn't said a word, even though Donald Trump has gutted his legacy in policy. Here it is.
Did you ever think that she actually appointed you, Tim? And think of it, appointed, and you're the senator of his state, and she endorsed me. You must really hate her. No, it's a shame. It's a shame. Uh-oh.
I just love you.
No, that's good. That's why he's a great politician.
That is the most remarkable yes, a boss moment we have ever seen in the modern context. Man, flawless, sir. You would have made an excellent slave. Put it up for a man. This man's a joke. Tim Scott is under fire over his silence while Donald Trump gutted federal programs that helps minority-run businesses that Tim Scott, Senator Scott, once called his legacy. For years, the South Carolina Senator Tim Scott has championed the Minority Business Development Agency, an office under the direction of the Commerce Department. Senator Scott led congressional efforts to permanently authorize the agency, expand its services into rural areas, and leverage the program to help minority-owned businesses during the COVID-19 pandemic, according to Politico. It was actually a well thought out and developing policy. I remember when they made the recommendation and then the advocacy for it to expand to rural America. Why? Because you won't find anyone poorer than Black folk inside of rural communities that have access to virtually no resources. So that's the reason it was proposed. That point is important to the principle. It means you have someone or a bunch of someones looking at cause and effect, looking at what gets us to the best outcome possible for this particular group. Perfect? Hell no, not even close to being perfect, but developing, all right? Now, thanks to the Trump administration and their budget cuts, the Minority Business Development Agency, which funds grants to business owners and provides technical assistance, support, and mentorship, has lost how many? 100% of its staff. That's about 50 people in all. They have all been placed on administrative leave or transferred to other posts within the Department of Commerce. A Commerce employee and a Democratic staffer granted anonymity to discuss personnel matters told Politico. Besides the job cuts, all grants to the agency's 41 business centers were terminated. That's according to a Commerce employee. A letter sent April 17th by Dodge worker Nate Kavanaugh, under the authority of Keith Sunderling, acting undersecretary of the MBDA and the current Deputy Secretary of Labor, specifically cited Trump's executive order to minimize the agency. They obliterated it. Scott, who has prioritized efforts to expand access to capital and economic mobility for minority entrepreneurs, has said nothing about the dissolution of his signature project. The senator was one of Donald Trump's most visible tap dancers during the presidential campaign and was once rumored to be a leading contender to be his vice presidential running mate, but apparently that hasn't earned him much influence with the president. Now, I remember when they floated Tim Scott could become the next vice presidential pick. No, that was before Trump won South Carolina. That was before he got all of his endorsements out of South Carolina. Once he got his endorsements out of South Carolina, Tim who? Scott might not have seen it coming. Now, you have to be, I don't like to call anybody dumb, sir. I'm a professor. But damn it, whatever word is as close as dumb as possible without saying dumb, that's what you are if you didn't see this coming. Scott may not have seen it coming. He reportedly told minority businesses he remains supportive of the program's mission, but wishes the agency would change its name, fearing it might be grouped in with DEI efforts targeted for elimination by the president, according to one of the Commerce Department employees. Sir, if a leader will get rid of an effective program because they don't like the name, why in the hell are you still supporting that leader? Though silent now, Scott was quick to defend Trump during the campaign, especially when matters of race were concerned. He said the Republican nominee was, quote, taken out of context when he accused migrants of taking Black jobs during his debate last summer against Joe Biden. Quote, I think what he meant to say was the fact that 2/3 of the jobs he created went to African Americans, Hispanics, and women, Scott said. I think we should take a whole look at the picture, and I don't think that happens. Critics have assailed Scott's silence. Scott is always the good MAGA soldier. How does he sleep at night? Asked one ex-account holder. Quote, talk is cheap, especially when your legacy gets bulldozed and you don't even flinch, added one commenter. Quote, guess silence is the new strategy. The Commerce Department employee went further, calling out Scott's cowardice. Asked to comment about the MBDA. A Scott spokesperson trumpeted the senator's record of working with Trump to deliver, quote, life-changing results for minority communities around the nation. You damn right, it's hella life-changing. We just reported on a federal worker who went to work, Black woman, put her head on her desk and died because of the stress associated with potential layoffs, her being 5 years away from retirement at an agency she's been with for over 20 years. You are right. It is life-changing. The only demographic in America where Black people are overrepresented is in one place: employment with the federal government. In every other place, Black people are underrepresented. Whatever number you choose, 14%, Black folk make up 14 to 17% of the American population, whatever number you choose. Go to the federal government, you will see that they make up 20, sometimes 20+% of the federal workforce, and some agencies are even higher than that. So what was Trump's first priority? To gut what? To gut the federal workforce. See, he can come against Black people without ever saying the word Black. Quote, their vision of America is one that follows every American, no matter their background, to have the necessary tools and resources to achieve their American dream, the spokesperson said in a statement. Quote, Senator Scott and President Trump are undoubtedly working to make sure our country works for all hardworking Americans. Stop it, I say. Senator, the man won't even take your phone call. This has to stop. It's not even about your legacy, but if your legacy causes you to advocate for a good or decent program, I'm all for it. It's really about the people who the policy supports. That's what it's about. It's never about your legacy or your ego or your leadership profile. It's about the people behind it. So the individuals you care less about. Trump, you care a lot about. This is backwards. All right, dear brother, thoughts here.
My thoughts are that I actually respect Tim Scott. Senator Tim Scott has had a very inspirational life from what he has gone through and where he has gotten to. I think that to understand him, we need to know more about his life. We need to read books like Huckleberry Finn and realize to understand this type of man, you must know historically, there are two kinds of slaves, the house Negro and the field Negro. Now, the house Negro lived in the big house. He dressed pretty, he ate good, he lived good. And if the house caught fire, he'd be the first one to put the blaze out. And if the master got sick, he would say, what's the matter, boss? We sick? I say and say it again. You've been had, you've been took, you've been hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray, run amok. This is what he does.
Well said, brother. Render ring for my dear brother Malcolm X. All right, we got more on the other side. Indisputable stick and stay.
I don't care if you're Christian. In fact, I will fight for you to have your religious liberty and practice your Christianity. I believe in that. I don't believe in Christianity, which means that you do not get to dictate the way I live my life based on your religion. I don't care what the Bible says. You have every right in the world. All those women who identify with your religion have every right in the world to not get an abortion, to not take birth control, but they do not have the right to dictate my life and what I decide to do with my body. I don't care about your goddamn religion. I'm so tired of having nonstop conversations about what the Bible says. You live your life in the way that you interpret the Bible. Again, I don't care, but you don't get to take the Bible and tell me, well, the Bible says this in this chapter, in this verse. I don't care. I don't care, I don't believe in it, and I have the right, based on our Constitution, to not believe in it.
Here I am, Nancy Pelosi, saying this country needs a strong Republican Party, and we do.
No one is representing what I call the silent majority, which is about 2/3 of this country, indisputably progressive.
But now we say the time has come for regime change in American television.
The Young Turks Network.
You have the Young Turks saying this is the time to fight for our values.
Young Turks is the oldest left media institution I believe that there is. Real front runner in the online media space.
You guys might know us. biggest online left-of-center outlet that exists.
All of you know the Young Turks.
People from this district heard about Justice Democrats by watching your show.
Thanks to the Young Turks for covering Trayvon Martin's case early on when few people were covering.
They don't stop, I won't stop. Racism won't stop, so I won't stop.
Species are at risk of going extinct. Major media outlets did not dedicate much time at all to that.
We reached a whole heap of people with our progressive message. We're not the Young Turks, you're the Young Turks.
300 million is a pretty good number, Well, that's the size of the US population. You know what our next target is? The size of the entire world.
We just crossed 5 billion views on YouTube.
I mean, imagine 10 years ago thinking one day, we would have looked at you like, are you nuts?
Young Turks has just passed another milestone.
25 billion lifetime views.
Damn.
Too strong, way too strong. That's 25 billion times someone watched the progressive message delivered to people all over the world. You know who helped to do that? You guys did. Our members and our audience are amazing, and they helped us to reach 2 generations, both millennials and Gen Z. They're both super progressive. And I gotta tell you, we're just getting started. Thank you. All right, lots of comments. You guys are the best.
I'm gonna read a few comments from our members.
Mr. Methuselah says on YouTube, super chat, thanks for all the important work you do for TYT for the movement.
Do you know who had the first super chat when I got back from vacation? You won't be surprised to find out. Billy B. Taylor. What do you know? Billy says, rejoice, for Dragon Daddy has returned.
This question sent to us by Izzy Sanchez Jr. Is it me or is Meghan McCain talking as fast as Ben Shapiro? Is that the way the right tries to look smart and intellectual? Well, yes.
Michael Nathan writes it on Twitter. Did Anna choose Cenk's outfit today? I'm sure it wasn't Cenk himself. Man Bun Jenkins Skinny Jeans says, so now Anna has pointed out, okay, that's his handle.
T. Joyce, 1971, saying Donald Trump is good at pulling out of things, NAFTA, the Iran deal, NATO. It's just too bad Fred Trump didn't.
All right, welcome back. Always good to be with you. I have some comments. We'll read as many as I can. All right. Christopher Perkins says, please continue very clearly articulating real Black media news work daily. Your articulation and professionalism are immaculate, indisputable with Dr. Sharpe. Thank you so much. Iron sharpens iron. Without you, there is no us. We greatly appreciate your team effort. Dana Manning. Dr. Richard, what is your lapel pin? I'm loving it, but I have to know what it is. It's one of the youth nonprofits that I work with through a local organization in Atlanta. All right. And I typically will wear things from organizations or places I have spoken that week. I try to represent them by wearing the lapel pin if they have one. But thank you for asking. Jump Designs, thank you for that. Tehran hid Easter eggs at Laugh Factory Tuesday. Did you hear that, Tehran?
I heard it. I do a lot of things. Laugh Factory is my home. Come to a show. Come to a show.
Kwame King, thank you so much. Kwame, we'll appreciate that. And LP_revolt_dragon. The program of Police Oversight Board is PR. It is not for reforms. You don't do what they want, you're gone. Yeah, and it really de-incentivizes real leadership when the judge can just send you a letter and you're no longer in position. Now all of a sudden, well, hell, I want to say something, but look what they did to Ms. Sherman. Okay, it's ridiculous. And David Morris, I was cleaning up, but heard the drums. I came running. There you go. Trust no. Got it. Monique told him right. She did. And she did it properly with a little bit of comedic undertone, but serious enough to where we know she was actually talking truthfully. David Moore says, Shannon, come on, man. Yep. Snack Panther, NFL Hall of Famer, got outplayed by an OnlyFans model. And yeah, over 9,000 into the Dragon says, normally I say, damn, Doc, but it is Tim Scott, so yeah. It's not even surprising, is it? All right, got something for you. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel great! Back off!
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
Hi, can I help you?
Yeah, I just have a package here. I got it delivered to my house, but I think it's for your address.
You can just leave it. I'm sorry, I'm in the middle of a work call right now.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Hey, guess what I gotta say to you? You, all your people, and what you guys stand for, all right? The day of the Lord is here. You heard me.
Well, we have a male Karen who obviously likes cameras. I have one. Let's put him up full mass. How you like that camera? The post of the video wrote on TikTok, for context, I'm Filipino. 20 minutes earlier, I had finished walking my dog prior to a work call. This man paced back and forth in the walkway for about 13 minutes before walking up to the door and ringing the bell and knocking on the door. My dog was going crazy, so I decided to see what was going on. It's unfortunately not the first time I've experienced racism. From microaggressions to full-on violence. It's heartbreaking to see the lengths people will go to express their hate. The poster would explain what happened following the video. Here it is.
We did find the guy, and there were also a lot of questions about the package that he was returning. Thing was, it wasn't even my package. And when I took a closer look at it, there wasn't even an address label. Anyway, my neighbor had called me the day after the video, asking me, hey Josh, was that your camera that guy spit on? I go, yeah. He says, I think we have the same guy. So I meet up with him downstairs outside with the sheriffs. And he shows me a video. You can very clearly see it is the same guy. He's walking back and forth in front of my neighbor's house, getting ready to throw a good-sized rock at his living room window where his wife and his newborn child were. Luckily, though, he did not throw the rock, but we did catch it all on camera. We were able to give that to the sheriffs. I gave them my information, and we were able to file a police report. My neighbor and I will be filing for a restraining order moving forward.
I have more video, but before I go to that video, Tehran, what are your thoughts up to this point?
Well, my thoughts are, thankfully, he's not an Uber Eats delivery because I would have never ate that. Whatever it was, he brought to put that away. I think that it really comes down to, I abhor this kind of behavior, but I adore the fact that you're telling me now before it's too late. Show me who you really are. Thank you. This is who the true you is. Thank you.
You know, and that is one of the, to me, positive dynamics out of this exposure of bigotry. At least we now know who you are, where you are, what employment you may have. We know this. You are forever exposed. So there will be a post-Trump era where the energy of this extreme malfunction and chaos will come back to this even and hopefully more appropriate alignment. But when that happens, the individuals who are exposing themselves today will understand the context we must put them in at that time because of this moment. So the poster also provided additional information, background on the man in question. Here it is.
Some information we found out is that turns out his family lives about a mile away from the community and had bought him the house that's right across the street from mine. And from what I was told, the family was aware of Dylan's mental illness and thought it would be a good idea to get him a place of his own. Last night, his sister, Dylan's sister, had reached out to me, telling me how sorry her family was, asking me to take down the video, citing that it was his undiagnosed mental illness. Now, I'm a big supporter of mental health, so I was really conflicted on whether I should take down the video or keep it up. But I'd really thought about it, and I'm not going to take it down because, one, I don't want Dylan's family to just pick him up, move him elsewhere for this entire cycle to happen again. Whether or not Dylan was truly being racist or he succumbed to his mental illness, it doesn't excuse him from doing the things that he did.
That's right. That's the point. It does not excuse him. I do find it ironic, and I say this in allied relationship with our Filipino brother. I do find it ironic they called you and they needed you to be the bigger man here. Okay? They needed you to take the high road. No, hell no. I'm taking the road he came in on. Okay? I'm responding to his energy, unprovoked, unnecessary, and racist. Period. So he responded to it. All right. Yeah. So now lessons are learned, opportunities for reconsideration of your previously held opinion can be had, and maybe transformation can occur. But that never happens without acknowledgement. Acknowledgement is required for transformation to take place. So acknowledge who you are, and what you would choose to be. All right, dear brother, thoughts here.
My thoughts at this point are, thankfully, there are cameras now. What was the world like when there weren't? Now we have police body cams and ring door cameras and cell phone cameras to expose all of this. And still there are so many people saying that this doesn't happen. Now, I do think that mental illness is very real. I do also find it very funny and ironic that anytime there's a racist attack, it's always linked to mental illness in some way. I do also think that racism is a mental illness. I just wonder why no one's ever mentally ill and all of a sudden becomes a very nice person. How come no one's extremely mentally ill and goes over there and is like, I just want to bring you extra money and hand out compliments and cash? How come that type of mental illness very rarely ever occurs? Stop making excuses. Accountability, responsibility, and most of all, mobility. That person is allowed to move how they want to move. So thank you for posting and warning the rest of us.
Yep, there you go. All right, well, we're back to a dollar store. Racist white Dollar Tree worker falsely accuses black family, according to the allegation. Got the video, got some background. Here it is.
I have a black sweatshirt on, like sweatsuit. Oh, I think she's another woman.
That's a child. That's a child.
Oh, it's a child. Okay, I can't tell.
That's a child. Exactly, because she's black. That's a child.
You know what?
That's a child. So don't you walk too free because you're going to get in trouble. She's a child.
I'm not getting in trouble. You don't do that. Maybe you do it over there in Zaire, but you don't do it here.
There it is. There it is.
It's a black woman, you do it in Zaire.
Well,
Wow.
You're black. You're
wow.
I'm white. And you still won't throw glasses on the ground.
When did that happen?
Deliberately. What?
I deliberately threw the glasses on the ground.
They what, fell off the counter?
They were in the box and they fell off out of the box.
Yeah.
What did that fool ask? Sir, it is not her fault that you have to work during the hours of the Klan meeting. A witness of the encounter. I'm sorry. This guy, put him up again. How could they not know? All right, so this individual posted the video on TikTok because they witnessed the encounter, showing the store worker at a Dollar Tree in Freehold, New Jersey, calling 911 on 2 black customers, March 22nd. Atlanta Black Star spoke to the witness who recorded the incident. Deborah Dixon said that she was approaching a cashier's counter to purchase sometimes when she saw the woman carrying a box with a few glasses to the front of the store to ask the employee if he had more glasses. Dixon said the woman requested 30 glasses for her daughter's birthday party, okay? The woman also asked the employee to use one of the store carts to load her glasses into the cart to take it to a cart. She asked him to remove a pole attached to the cart that reaches the tops of the doorways and acts as a security measure to prevent people from stealing the carts. Dixon said the worker was the only employee working the cashier's counter, and that he looked flustered and agitated because the woman was talking to him while he was working with other customers. Quote, he started yelling at her, and the box flipped over, and the glasses fell out, Dixon said. Quote, then he yelled at her because the glasses fell out and said, you people always come again here starting stuff and arguing with us. Get the hell out the store. Dixon said that she was among a few onlookers who witnessed the outburst. One elderly customer even chastised the employee for his behavior. But the employee only kept arguing with the woman and then threatened to call the police, according to Dixon. Quote, he was hostile. He was abusive to her. But she wasn't argumentative. She was just stating her case. She was calm, cool, and collected. But he's just accusing her of throwing glasses in the store, and she really did not, Dixon remarked. He was terrible. He talked to her like she was dirt beneath his feet, end quote. Dixon said that she started recording the encounter on her phone when the employee dialed 911. Even though she witnessed when the glasses broke, she asked the woman to recount what happened on camera so she could have her version of events on the video to show the police. Let me pause right here and say thank you to Ms. Dixon. Thank you, Ms. Dixon, for being aware, for being willing to ally with someone who was being wronged. Everyone in my personal life, they know this. If there is somebody pulled over, I don't care what event we're going to, I don't care if we're running on time or late. I don't care if I'm the keynote. If there's somebody pulled over, we're pulling over and we start recording. I text the vendor, I'm running late, I'm still at work. So Dixon, she, as a person shopping, stopped everything she was doing in order to provide a clear record of somebody who's in the middle of being wronged. Thank you, ma'am. Dixon said that 5 cops showed up to the scene and believes this is because the employee kept emphasizing that Black people were damaging store property, whatever. When he was on the phone with a dispatcher. When officers finally arrived, Dixon said 3 left after seeing the situation didn't necessitate a robust police response. Quote, so he tried to make it a really big racial thing, like Black people are tearing up the store and won't leave, Dixon said. Dixon recorded her conversation with one officer telling him the employee launched false allegations, made a racist statement, and was being hostile and abusive toward the mother and her teen daughter. No arrests were made. Dixon said the woman purchased her glasses and even offered to pay for the broken ones. No, ma'am, that store has insurance for broken items, even by customers. You are not to pay for that. You don't have to do that. A female police officer carried the woman's glasses out of the store and escorted her and her daughter to the car. The Atlanta Black Star reached out to Dollar Tree about the incident, and if the worker is still employed, there has not been an immediate response. We are waiting for that response. Dear brother, thoughts here?
My thought is that even his reference was racist. Zaire is a country in Africa, which clearly this young lady is not from. She's from the islands, but Zaire is now called Congo because Zaire is the racist name of the Republic of Congo. So even the mere reference, which was a pool, that's that old world thinking, that ancient thinking. That's what century that gentleman is still stuck in, and used and weaponized the police. The police came. Now, when we say, why did so many police officers show up? A lot of times they're bored. And so when a call comes in, they just want to come in and see what the commotion is. We do see that there were no arrests. The police did not just take this man at his word. They investigated. And so let's actually give some props to where props should be due, because we always comment on when the police do their jobs ineffectually. This time they were effective. We didn't see her in cuffs. We didn't see the kid in cuffs. All these things that we're unfortunately so used to seeing it so many times. So we need to stop shopping at the Dollar Tree. I don't care how good the bargain is. Sometimes they're so good, I might let someone get away with the N-word, but we need to stop it. We need to stop that, because this is a Dollar Tree continuing problem. Between the Dollar Tree and Cracker Barrel, this is our fault.
I'm glad Ms. Dixon did what she did. I'm happy that the police looked at routine evidence and said there's a nothing burger. But at some point, there has to be a serious cultural shift in policing to where when a person attempts to weaponize 911 against another human being for doing nothing illegal, that has to be dealt with. And there are many ways to deal with it, from basically filing a false police report to abuse of 911. These are city ordinances normally in every jurisdiction. All right. We got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay.
Using the military inside the United States, totally unacceptable. And there's no need for it. Well, our cops can't arrest drug cartel gang members? Of course they can. They have great numbers in the past. And the military doesn't do a better job of policing than the police does, no matter whatever you think of the failings of the police. So it's just, there's no need for it. And second of all, anytime we start calling people terrorists, here comes the demagoguing. So the word has no meaning. It doesn't really, it's never used consistently. It's only used against people we don't like. So it's just totally, at best case scenario is totally needless. Worst case scenario used for demagoguing and military force. So the third bucket is, should we invade Mexico? Are you kidding me? Why would we attack Mexico? What kind of lunatic talk is this? And I know why Trump's doing it. He thinks keep everything on the table, right? And let me make sure that I use my leverage, and this is among my options. I get it. But it sounds mental, and it's destabilizing for the world when we threaten to invade half the countries in our hemisphere.
What are some of your proudest projects at TYT? CDR, I mean, pitching the idea for this show and making it a reality and seeing it grow and evolve over the past 5-6 years. Dear God, has it been 5-6 years? But I have to say True North as well. The farthest reaches of the earth being traveled to by TYT, embedding with a team of scientists, producing this absolutely beautiful footage of a part of the world that doesn't receive much attention on a topic that I really care about. That's always going to be super important to me.
The rest of the news media says you should not fight for positive change. If you do, you're not really a reporter or a journalist, because reporters and journalists don't care what happens. I don't agree. That's not written anywhere. That's not a law. It's just a rule that they invented so that reporters didn't actually challenge the people that are in power. Well, we don't agree with that. We think we should challenge the people in power, that actually makes you a better journalist, not a worse one.
All right, well, the Young Turks special election day coverage dropping.
An amazing power panel.
Look at this panel. You want to talk about power?
Like a smart Destiny Child.
We're all too strong.
We spun a revolution. Yes, another one.
Aren't you excited?
Wow.
And then Alexander in the country are right here on this panel with the obviously
we're starting in a lot of ways.
Why is he lying? Because these are acts that you can commit with impunity.
Most of us are usually in boxer shorts underneath.
I went with the pants today.
This is the first ever power panel with Donald Trump as president.
We have elected the top Twitter troll in the country.
We have to stop pretending that race is not an issue in this country.
Now keep in mind, racism had gone away until Barack Obama brought it back.
That's right. They want to protect life so much that they want to ensure that insurance companies don't cover your maternity care.
How do you know if you're a populist? Easy. Do you work for the donor class? You don't? Great, you're a populist. Okay, so the establishment takes money from the donors and serves the donors. Mainstream media takes money from advertisers, and they are giant corporations themselves, and they work for themselves, and they work for the powerful. If you care about the average person, and you want the average person to have better health care, better wages, a better life, and you hate corruption, congrats, you're a populist.
All right, welcome back. A lot of comments. I will read as many as I can. Greatly appreciate you. X-Dog, the security dragon. Come to my house with that same energy, but you get a different response. B. Brown, he's going to mess around and spit on the wrong ring camera. And Linux X76, that entitlement is going to lead him to the path of disaster, mental illness or not. And CH says, I have 5 diagnosed mental illnesses and I'm not racist. There's no excuse. Dollar Tree, Chichi Massey, thank you, Chichi. I thought plan hours were second and third shift.
Listen, I'm about to do a huge...
Okay. Winston 121-880. Karen has a clan robe under his Dollar Tree uniform too. All right. Okay. Here we go. Innocent black male tasered, attacked innocently once again by the police. Let's go to Dallas Airport. I got the video. Here it is.
Did somebody take this? I didn't do nothing. My name is Michael Singleton. Do you have warrant? My name is, I got a traffic warrant. My name is Michael Singleton. I want you to please take this. They arrested me for wrong reasons.
No, why would y'all do that? He was standing still.
Oh my God, my name is Michael Singleton. My birthday's 12/21/71. I have back in Singleton. I have no warrant.
You may wonder, why is he yelling his name? Why is he giving his information? Because he doesn't want to be disappeared. And if something happens, he wants somebody to know this is what happened to me. Because that's the context he's mentally in, not because he's unreasonable, but because he has a reasonable understanding of current police culture. And that informs his position today. Put him up full mass. According to the interaction, the police, said this man had major narcotics on him. At least that was the allegation. 53-year-old Michael Singleton is seen yelling out his name to bystanders as cops tackle and tase him at Dallas Airport after he says he is being framed, falsely accused of carrying drugs. Quote, I got a traffic warrant, Singleton angrily replied, as 2 officers held his hands behind his back. Then Singleton shouted out his own name to the crowd and said, quote, they are arresting me for the wrong reasons. No, you said I have cocaine. I'm not a drug dealer, Singleton shot back. Hey man, I didn't try to fight you. Why did you tase me? Question mark. Atlanta Black Star contacted the Dallas Police Department seeking an incident report and clarification as to why Singleton was detained and arrested. A department spokesman said via email that, quote, it is not our practice to comment on a social media post, and advised ABS, Atlanta Black Star, who does great reporting, by the way, to make an open records request about the incident. The department did not immediately respond to that records request. Atlanta Black Star reports in an interview on Tuesday, Singleton said that the incident began last Friday morning as he stepped into the jetway to board the flight. A plainclothes officer wearing a red shirt in the video, who identified himself as a Dallas police narcotics detective, stopped him and said, Mr. Singleton, where are you going? You got some drugs on you? End quote. And then ushered him back into the gate area. I gotta say, if somebody approached me like that and said that, and it's a cop, yeah, it sounds like a red flag. It doesn't sound like you're making a mistake. It sounds like you're trying to make something that is not. So I get it. And that's why this context is important, to understand why he was screaming his name and saying what he was saying at the time. Quote, what is this about? He says, Singleton posed the question multiple times before the officer told him, quote, we believe you are carrying some narcotics, which he then identified specifically as cocaine. Quote, bro, you've got the wrong guy, Singleton says. He responded, then told the officer he had nothing more to say. During the scuffle, one of the officers told him they also had a warrant of his arrest related to a traffic offense. It's a 5-year-old speeding ticket, Singleton said, which he owed $500 and had forgotten about. After the arrest, he said he was taken downstairs to the airport police station, then transported to a jail in downtown Dallas. He was booked on a charge of resisting arrest and told that he could pay the fees for the outstanding speeding ticket in cash only. He called his 23-year-old son, who came with the cash. Singleton spent about 4.5 hours in police custody, during which time the arresting officers decided to, just drop the BS charge of resisting arrest, he says, and they never said anything else about the drugs. Now, all of a sudden, the allegation of cocaine goes away. Drugs? Who said anything about drugs? No charge, nothing. And then the actual charge goes away. Resisting arrest? No, we cannot send this to the DA's office or the solicitor. No, we're not doing that. Why? Well, because what we did was illegal. That's why. They're not even going to try. I'm not saying the DA dropped it. The police did. That's rare. There's more. Singleton said he was traumatized by the rough handling by 4 police officers and the tasing, which caused him to stop breathing initially, made his blood pressure soar to 170. That he's getting close to death zone. And his heart race over the next few hours. Quote, they could have given me a heart attack or killed me, he said. When he walked out of the jail, he still had taser prongs embedded in the skin of his legs and chest. He said, adding that he believes he has nerve damage. Singleton said he's been meeting with lawyers over the past few days and plans to hold a press conference with his legal counsel after this week to discuss his pending lawsuit. There you go. Hold him accountable. Tehran, still it sounds fishy, to be quite honest with you. The whole interaction does. What say you?
What I say is I didn't realize that federal police and airport police were looking at people for speeding tickets. I didn't realize that that's what's going on now. Did they think that he was going to flee to Mexico over a $500 5-year-old ticket that he had in Dallas, Texas? Is that what they were thinking? They was gonna start a whole new life in Mexico. And so they had to apprehend this man and publicly embarrass and shame him from a runway going on to the flight. These are the kind of tactics that continuously have us and undermines our faith in police and police efforts. This needs to stop. Then, in a way to get rid of all of everything, is they're basically making it seem like they're doing them a favor. You know that charge of resisting arrest that you should have never gotten because you should have never been arrested in the first place? We're gonna make that go away for you, sir, in order to make you feel better. To do what? It should have never happened in the first place. This is the type of illicit, explicit results that need to stop.
There you go. And you're right. They're not in the business of enforcing these ordinance violations called traffic tickets. As a matter of fact, do you know how many people will be arrested at airports if they enforced an unpaid ticket? They don't have a license. If it's suspended, that's fine. That has nothing to do here. We're at an airport. And they're enforcing this BS. All right, we'll bring you updates when the lawsuit is filed. We got more on the other side. Indisputable Stick and Stay.
There's one reason why healthcare is so messed up in this country, and that's because of our money in politics situation. Because those industries that are deeply corrupt can just simply purchase all of Congress. And then the problem never gets fixed because of that bribery. Mike.
Yeah, I mean, it's greed, and it's the greed of politicians, right? I mean, so everything they do is dictated by the donors and the money. I mean, I shouldn't say that, not everything. A lot of what they do is, and I do think that there are people who do things in spite of the fact that they have to raise money and often don't get that money and often don't win because they don't, but are in there fighting for ideals that they believe in. Bernie Sanders is certainly an example of someone like that.
I'm back to gaslighting. Did you and I talk about gaslighting on Old School?
Probably.
That boss gaslit all his female employees. People who manipulate others like that make you feel like you're the weirdo. Why won't you punch yourself in the face? What is wrong with you? And you're like, oh my God, I feel so bad. Why didn't I just punch myself in the face and poke my eye out? I'm 47 and I just figured it out like earlier this year.
You figured out somebody was doing it to you, or that you were
that it was that it would have been happening my whole life and I didn't realize it.
Right.
You want to know the 3 shows that I'm watching lately? Shogun, Anjin-san. Those guys are badasses. Then you go to the Duttons, Yellowstone. Now they don't always do it right, but they are badasses. But the 3rd show has the biggest badasses of all, the Young Turks. Live every weekend. Sick that I was so good. God damn it. Okay, live. Weekdays at 6 o'clock Eastern. That's what I meant. Anjin-san.
How do you know if you're a populist? Easy. Do you work for the donor class? You don't? Great, you're a populist. Okay, so the establishment takes money from the donors and serves the donors. Mainstream media takes money from advertisers, and they are giant corporations themselves, and they work for themselves, and they work for the powerful. If you care about the average person, and you want the average person to have better health care, better wages, a better life, and you hate corruption, congrats, you're a populist.
All right, Amazon Prime members, here's how you can subscribe for free on Twitch. Start by linking your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, and then click that little subscribe or resubscribe button below the stream on Twitch. Scroll down and select the subscribe free with Prime button, and then you're finished. Close out immediately and share your little subscription alert with the chat. Send a cute message along with it, and bathe in the sweet, twitchy, Bezos-funded love. Hashtag Bezos Bucks.
All right, welcome back. Always good to be with you. Donald Trump signs executive orders targeting college equity efforts. Here it is.
Sir, we have an executive order on school discipline policies. Under, I believe it was the Biden administration, first Obama and then Biden, the Department of Justice issued guidance that made it almost impossible for schools to enforce adequate disciplinary policies. This created issues in the classroom for teachers and students alike. Basically, they focused on CRT and sort of diversity ideology instead of actually just enforcing the rules in classrooms to ensure a safe learning environment. This executive order revokes that prior guidance and puts us back in a place where hopefully the Department of Education can focus on education and teachers can focus on teaching in a safe environment.
And this was important for you, Linda, as I understand it.
Yeah, absolutely, because it gives teachers the authority now to have discipline in their classroom and discipline the person who is being disruptive. We took that away.
Very sad, isn't it? Put it up, full mask. You know, to the MAGA crowd and Trump supporters who like to distinguish themselves from MAGA, I don't recall any of you asking for these things. I don't recall any of you asking for the full destruction of the Department of Education. I heard you asking for reforms. I did not hear you asking for the full government takeover of education. I didn't hear any of you ask for this. President Donald Trump has ordered sharper scrutiny of America's colleges and the accreditor. These are private agencies that oversee them, part of his escalating campaign to end what he calls wokeness and diversity efforts in education. In a series of executive actions signed Wednesday, Trump targeted universities that he views as liberal adversaries to his political agenda. He has said it. One order called for harder enforcement of a federal law requiring colleges to disclose their financial ties with foreign sources, while another called for a shake-up of the accrediting bodies that decide whether colleges can accept federal financial aid awarded to students. Here's what he's doing. American education works a little differently than most, okay? In America, the government does not accredit the institution. So when someone says, is the institution accredited? Give an example. I finished doctoral studies at Clark Atlanta University. Clark Atlanta University is a major Atlanta-based research university. Huge campus, a lot of funding, a lot of students, okay? It's private, but it receives federal money. Why does it receive federal money? Not because of it being Clark Atlanta University, but because it is accredited by the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools. I think it goes by a different name now. You have a few major regional accrediting bodies and you have national accrediting bodies. Either one of these accrediting bodies, the regional, national, that's approved by the Department of Education, will qualify you for financial aid, or an institution can apply, they get the accreditation, students can get the financial aid. That's how it works. Government does not accredit. You go overseas at a university, for the most part, the government directly accredits the institution. And then they're hands off. They look at quality of education and quality of qualified professors and some financial dynamics. So Trump is basically gutting colleges and their accreditors that qualify people for the opportunity at financial aid. He doesn't have to come after financial aid by doing it this way. You get the point. He's doing it in a way where he avoids the press of cutting federal aid. Put it up full mask. Here we go. President Donald Trump has ordered this. It is done. sharper enforcement of his agenda, not the law, his agenda. Trump also ordered the education department to root out efforts to ensure equity and discipline in the nation's K through 12 schools. Previous guidance from Democratic administrations directed schools not to disproportionately punish underrepresented minorities, such as Black and Native American students. The administration says equity efforts amount to racial discrimination. Another order aims at accrediting bodies that set standards colleges must meet to accept federal financial aid from students. Trump campaigned on a promise to overhaul the industry, saying it was, quote, dominated by Marxist maniacs and lunatics. Nothing about the quality of education. Ironically, Trump went to an institution accredited in the same vein as the ones he's going after. So if the education is not worthy, sir, that means that your education is not worthy also. There's more. Often overlooked as an obscure branch of college oversight, accreditors play an important role in shaping colleges in many aspects, with standards that apply all the way from colleges, governing boards, to classroom curriculum, and obviously professors. Trump's executive order is the opening salvo in what could be a lengthy battle to overhaul the accrediting industry. Chief among his priorities is to strip accreditors of DEI requirements imposed on colleges. Some accreditors have already dropped or stopped enforcing such standards amid Trump's DEI crackdown. Trump's order calls on the government to suspend or terminate accreditors that discriminate in the name of DEI. Instead, it calls on accreditors to focus more squarely on the student outcomes of colleges and programs they oversee. That's what the DEI is for. It sets equitable standards so that there can be equitable outcomes. But you don't do that without having an intention to understand what that means per student. And it changes per community or region. Quote, instead of pushing schools to adopt a divisive DEI ideology, accreditors should be focused on helping schools improve graduation rates. That's what it's for. And graduates' performance in the labor market. That's what it's for. That's what DEI is for. Education Secretary Linda McMahon said in the statement, Linda, when was the last time you taught in college? Oh. Trump also invoked opposition to equity. Equity efforts in his order on school discipline. The edict signed Wednesday seeks to return to, quote, common sense school discipline. None of this is a policy. Allowing decisions to be based solely on students' behavior and actions, McMahon said. Another executive order instructs government agencies and departments to no longer rely on desperate impact theories. Under these standards, policies and practices that disproportionately impact minorities and other protected groups could be challenged regardless of their intent. Okay? Meaning, if you are a first-time college student in your family, that's likely because of elements related to access of money and resources, right? That is taken into account when developing the overall academic culture of an institution. In many schools around the country, Black students have been more likely to receive punishment that removed them from classrooms. We know that. We talked about that. A decade ago, those differences became a target of a reform movement spurred by the same reckoning that gave rise to Black Lives Matter. The movement elevated the concept of the school to prison pipeline. The notion that being kicked out of school or dropping out increases the chances of arrest and imprisonment years later. Federal guidelines to address racial disparities in school discipline first came from President Barack Obama's administration, 2014. Federal officials urged schools not to suspend, expel, or refer students to law enforcement, except as a last resort. These are things that are common and we know. We got the data. We have the metadata. We have the micro data. We have the macro data. We even have the actual research data, meaning real-time research based on research explored during the time it was happening. We have all of it, and it all points to the exact same thing. There's racism in school systems, there's racism in recruiting, and there's racism in admissions. And in order to overcome that, you must have intentional programming to do so. And that's why these institutions, in good faith, stood up and said, we have a problem. The data doesn't lie. And now Trump is saying, oh, that data is a lie to him. All right, dear brother, thoughts here.
Well, unfortunately, Dr. Ritchie, this is not the first time I've seen such a thing. It's called redlining, except this time it's educational redlining. Let's redline out the people, the undesirables, quote unquote, to them. Who is this war against? Who does this affect disproportionately? Clearly, minority students, people of color, African-American students, and so on. This is the cause, especially surprisingly coming from an administration that values itself on small government versus state rights, versus the individual rights. So if you like small government, then why are you always interrupting and interfering in specific certain institutions that have to do with states and individual rights? Who are the individuals that you are trying to interfere with? That is as clear as the research and data that you were talking about.
That's right. Obviously, updates to come. Dear brother, thank you for your brilliant insight. As always, tell people how they can follow you. Check out your great work.
Find me, of course, as was mentioned today, at the Laugh Factory. I'm there every Thursday. It's Tehran Thursday. Find me touring all across the country, actually the world. Follow me at I Am Tehran all across the board, everywhere on social media.
Thank you, my friend, as always, brother.
Thank you.
All right. Remember, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable.